Welcome to the inaugural edition of the Ren and Arrby Show. Welcome to anybody's watching.
Anyone that's
Official face
watching.
reveal. Arrby. This is my buddy Ren.
Ren,
Not so secret. I mean, it's live, obviously. I just didn't
not so
advertise it because we didn't know when we were going to get started.
yeah, it
but
was kind of right off the top kind of thing. We weren't really expecting to do it today, but
hey, you
Screw
gotta pull the top at some point. You
yeah.
gotta just get it going. So we'll see. We'll see. Oh man, it doesn't look like the actual chat thing is working properly. I'm gonna have to figure that one out at some point. The chat overlay thing. It's a bummer.
Oh yeah, but that's fine.
Yeah, like I say, we'll figure it all out as we go.
Secret show. What do we have today? Is there anything specific you want to talk about?
I am cool talking about whatever. I mean, things that I've been thinking about lately because people are talking about it nonstop is the Mamdani win in New York and what that actually means for New York and why it happened.
I'm not caught up on that. You're gonna have to explain that one.
So we can definitely talk about that a little bit. I don't know if you had any specific topics you want to talk about.
For me, it's more so I'm real big on the whole transgender thing, keeping it away from existence as much as we can. At least for now, trying to keep it out of our schools. It's a big cancer for me, and I really just think it needs to stop already. But if you want to start with that, we can do what you were talking about.
Well, yeah. Why don't we talk about Mamdani a little bit? Oh, there you go. The chat is working. I got it working now.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, the big news topic of the day that I've been seeing going around the whole bunch is that Mamdani won in New York. Hey Ann, welcome. I don't have receipts pulled up, but one of the things that I saw going around a lot is that the win had a lot to do with him having minorities vote for him, and specifically immigrants.
Okay, so I heard I kind of know what you're talking about now. So I was hearing that it was very suspicious the way the voting was going up until like the last minute, and it completely like went crazy in the favor of the left a little bit with all these judges.
You hear two people talking over each other. Did I screw it up more?
No. I don't hear two people talking over each other.
I don't know.
I wonder if there's a delay between me and you.
Could be. I am using. You're hearing me through the other audio, and I'm hearing you through OBS, but who knows? We'll roll with it. We'll figure it out. If it's problematic, y'all can let us know. So yeah, I didn't pay much attention to like judges, and I'm not super interested necessarily in the idea of like voter like fraud and things like that, or things that are questionable. I think even within the realm of the possibility that it is a legitimate vote completely, there are bigger issues to talk about with the fact that the Republicans that used to live, or the conservatives that used to live in New York, have primarily left since COVID because of poor, government. Yeah. There's been a huge influx in immigrants. I mean, I don't have the video pulled up, but the speech
that was one of the points that I made was that I think Republicans just feel safe right now and they're not voting for things like that. I think that could be a possibility.
No, I definitely think there's something to be said about the fact that if the party in power feels that there's no reason to, people are not going to go out and vote. It's easy to get people to go vote over fear than it is over happiness.
Yeah, because at this point, the left is very desperate to get any kind of win that they can, because the Donald Trump winning period is the end of their world.
So yeah, no.
They're ready for the battle, and they've been showing that. I mean, look what they did to Charlie.
100%.
They are ready with whatever guns they think they don't even know. They're ready, guns blazing, and voting like with things like this, they're just like they're in there. They want to do whatever damage they can. In there, I think Republicans are just like, ah, I mean, we're good. We don't. I don't really. I got a soccer game. I don't really feel like going until you know what I mean. Like, I think we're feeling too secure, and like the battle's been won, but it's really just begun. And I think that's a lot of that's something a lot of people got to realize is we have a long road ahead of us. We can't just we're cool. What's going to happen when Donald Trump and you do end up getting another Democrat president? Because I really do feel like
No,
end up happening.
yeah, no, I agree with you. Sorry, you froze there for a half a second, but no, I agree. I think that people looked at Trump winning, especially in 2024, as this massive like mandate landslide that
Mhm.
meant the culture wars had been won, and it's naive to think that way. I mean, you have to fight them on a regular basis consistently, or else you'll take a step back with everything because the
Mhm.
more motivated group is going to win out. I also think
I know.
Capone mentioned the divisions within the Republican Party. Not even getting into specifics on that. And I don't know how much you've been paying attention to it lately with this, Fuentes and company stuff against, kind of the more center right Republicans,
Not
with like
much, to be
Shapiro
honest.
and some of those people, Daily Wire and whatnot. But regardless, I think that whichever side can capture the center better is who's going to win in, the next few elections. And I think it was
Mhm.
definitely the ability for Trump to capture the center because, the left had gone so far on some of these issues, like you mentioned, the transgender issue, that allowed the Republicans to do so well in the 2024 election.
Yeah, I know for me, once Trump, like I was huge politics. Like I was following it every day. We were talking about it at lunch at work. It was all we were talking about up in the election. And once Trump won, I know myself, I was like, I can breathe now. I ain't gonna worry about politics for a while. I don't care. He's in. Daddy Trump is in the office. We're gonna get things done. But now, ever since Charlie was taken from us, I'm like, you know what? I want to talk about it. I want to talk about things. I might not know about every little detail when it comes to politics, but there are things that I know I do know, and I'm willing to talk about them, and I'm willing to learn, and I'm also willing to hear what liberals might have to say if we have liberals or anyone on the left that wants to chime in and debate and talk about things. It's more of a learning experience for me, and in certain areas, I want to inform others of what I know. So like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Just a like housekeeping note. On this channel before I, opened up to open panel stuff, we're definitely open to having people on the show if they want. I think it's going to be more of a plan thing because
yeah.
instead of using like StreamYards or Streamlabs like I was before, I'm using OBS now, so it takes a little bit of planning to make it work. But very happy to have people on to join us to chit chat about topics, specific things, or just generally join. Um, and thank you, Ann. Yeah, like button, subscribes, all those things helps out greatly.
Oh yeah. I'm hoping this takes off because it would be really fun to have a nice audience that we can interact with and make something out of this. It would be really interesting to see where this goes.
Yeah, I mean, I think any platform for just having conversation is the most important part. At the end of the day, people don't have to agree on things, but the ability to actually talk to each other matters.
Yeah, and that
Um,
that's a good point that you make because I want to talk to anyone who's coming from my personal Facebook, who and you know who you are. There's plenty of people who know who they know who they are if they're watching. I just want to make it a point that we might not see eye to eye, and we might debate, and there might be nasty comments between my friends and you and your friends, and it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you're my friend, and I respect and I love you. Just because we don't see eye to eye with politics doesn't mean that I don't want you involved in my life. Because there's other things in our life besides politics. You're just because your viewpoints don't line up with mine doesn't mean that there's not things that we can find common ground on and have the same kind of enjoyment in life.
yeah, if I could build off that idea a little bit, I really like the crossover of politics and philosophy, religion, things like that. And to me, one of the things that I think that's very clear that's been going on for a little while now is there's been this conscious intention by people with power to insert politics into everything. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's hard
I
to just
agree.
have a movie or a game or a even like music and things like that has politics so deeply inserted into it. It's very difficult to just see people as other people. I used to do tabletop gaming, and that has very much politicized in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely think there's spaces to get back to just focusing on the actual things we enjoy doing with other people.
And
Like,
it's really hard when they're putting it in shows and they're putting it in movies, and it's I just want to turn on the TV. I want to watch a movie with my family. I don't want to see that there's like, pronouns and shit and like come on, like just let a movie be a movie. Let it be enjoyable. We don't got to have all that stuff in it. You know what I mean? Just let it be simple the way it used to be. You want to have diversity, that's fine. I completely understand that. But don't be throwing like the little, political swings in there, It's just ridiculous.
yeah, I mean, I remember seeing some compilations that were put together a few years back of ads, and now every single ad has a mixed race couples and things like that. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but there was clearly a very obvious intention to push a lot of certain messages into this stuff.
Yeah, like so they did that Buzz Lightyear movie, and I thought it was great. I thought it was awesome. And thank God my son was too young to question this. But when I saw that the two women had a baby together, and I'm like, you know, how many mothers and fathers around the world have children that are old enough that asked, how does that work? Well, how do you know what I mean? How are you supposed to explain that? I just want to watch a movie with my family. Now I got to explain, gay sex or something to my kid, and it's like, come on, just leave that stuff alone. There's no reason to even put it in there.
Don't you know in schools, if they're not teaching proper sex ed, they're not teaching how to properly prepare yourself for anal? I mean, come on. That's what it's all about. You gotta teach that in sex ed. It's important.
The sexualization of children has become a fucking unbelievable cult in our country, and this is where I get into it. This is my biggest thing with the people on the left. That and abortion, which is very black and white. I feel, or it's not so much black and white. I mean, abortion. It's like there's different levels to that. But when it comes to the transgender thing, there's no way that you can be in favor of something like that without knowing it. These people obviously don't have all the facts. They don't understand what's actually happening. They're not understanding that, because you get people who are, oh, well, what do you care? It's not bothering you. Well, let me explain something. Let me explain to you why I care and why it does bother me. Okay? Because it started with gay marriage, right? We didn't have gay marriage for the longest time. There was a reason for that. It was because the nuclear family still thrived in America. And we said, no, marriage is between a man and a woman. If you want to be gay, that's fine, but we're not going to acknowledge it. So we finally gave them gay marriage. And just like so many people predicted, it wasn't enough. They took the rope and they pulled as hard as they could, and they wanted more and more and more. And now we have drag queens going to kids' schools and reading them stories. We have schools with counselors that are, keeping it from parents that their kids feel like they're the opposite sex. And mind you, these kids are like in kindergarten. Sometimes they're younger, sometimes they're older. But it's disgusting how we got from we don't want gay marriage to we want our kids to be transgender in the matter of what, 20 years, maybe a little more than that. And that's why it bothers me so much, and that's why I'm so worried about it, because I don't want my son to grow up in a world where he has no idea what the hell's even going on half the time. Now we got AI, that's even worse. These kids are going to grow up, they're not going to know what's real anymore. They're not going to know who they are. They're going to have all kinds of mental problems. And honestly, you can't get them in a psychiatrist to fix the problem because, and you can look these statistics up, 2/3 of psychiatrists in America vote Democrat. They vote liberal. So you can't even trust psychiatrists if your child's having a problem, because all they're going to do is fill their head with shit. And then if you're looking at just the younger generation right now, you're probably figuring, all right, well, how many of the kids are actually going to, how many of them kids is it really going to affect? It might not affect that many. It's affecting enough. It's affecting enough for the next generation after them, for there to be even more and for it to become even more normalized. And you can't have a society that thrives that way. It does not work. And what happens when we get to 50-50 ratio with homosexuality and being straight? What happens then? What happens when that takes over? It's just you can't have a thriving society that way. Not to mention, half of them don't even work. Half of them they don't contribute to society in any way. It's literally a mental illness, and it needs to be treated as such. You wouldn't tell someone with schizophrenia, oh, it's fine, just go do that, go be that way, you're fine. You want to put that gun in your mouth? Do it. That's fine. You want to identify as suicidal? That's fine. It's not okay. These people have a mental issue and they need to get help. And the reason why it's being so popularized is, like I said, 2/3 of all psychiatrists in America swing liberal, and they do nothing but back it up and reassure these people that what they're doing is completely sane. And now I'll give it to you.
Yeah, no, I wonder what percentage are female. I mean, women are great. I love women. But we don't approach things the same way. And I think a
We
big
don't.
part of, these issues in healthcare, a lot of this affirmative care stuff that's been pushed has to do with sort of female coding into our healthcare system, and the idea that, we have to make people feel right as opposed to trying to heal them.
Well,
I
that
mean,
started with the industrial age. I think we were talking about that before. The industrial age really destroyed manhood. Now, I understand it completely made society thrive with technology. It was a necessary move in our advancement. But the reason why it destroyed manhood is because back in the day, dad didn't get up and go to work every day. He got up and he went right out front, took the kids with him. They learned how to do the family business. They learned how to farm, whether it was a farm or they were cobblers or whatever they did. Every household had their own trade, sorry.
no, I was laughing at what Anne said. She's on the
Well,
repeal the 19th train.
once once dad started getting up and leaving the household to go to work every day, the kids were now raised by mom, and they went to school where it was predominantly female teachers. So you
Well,
saw dad less than half the time than you used to now.
I think it's even worse than that. I think that we went from maybe in the 60s, 70s, 80s, where it was mom, the actual mother of the children raising them, to today, where third and fourth wave feminism has told women, be a man, um, go earn like a man does, stay out of the home.
Yeah.
The
And now
amount
women
of
think they can teach men, little boys. It's almost like women think that they can raise a little boy on their own and teach him how to be a man, and it's not
well,
going to work.
that's 100% true. I mean, I think that's the issue with like these single parent households, the single mothers, households and stuff.
Well, when
But
the government
even
has your back as a woman, when the government has your back as much as it does, I mean, honestly, I can't say I blame them. They don't, because it becomes a kind of like an immoral kind of province now, where it's like, they feel like they're entitled, but the government's kind of made them feel that way. They don't understand how immoral that it is. And I think it's really it's just Satan putting his hand out saying, get rid of the dad. We don't need him around here. We'll take his money, more the money than you need. We'll take that from him, and we'll give you food benefits, and we'll take care of you. We'll make sure that he gets robbed and he can't survive, and we'll give you cash assistance on top of it. You don't worry. And I mean, as a female, you have nothing to lose. If you don't want to be with the guy no more, you can cheat on him, and now he's paying you child support. And it's
yeah, I mean,
like,
if you don't have a
it's
prenup, you're screwed.
exactly.
But no, I like I say, even worse than having just a one parent, things like, you have people who don't see their children as the most important part of life. Like, too many people are
Oh, of
looking
course.
at self-actualization as what the most important thing in their life is, and not the next generation. I mean, I've heard people argue, touch on the repealing like the 19th or whatever, that it's not just about women shouldn't be voting, but it's about people that don't have stake in the future shouldn't necessarily be voting.
Yeah, they
um
should absolutely have some kind of grounds for they should have some kind of a bracket where you have to kind of fit into in order to vote. You take a test or something. You can't. I mean, how are we exact? I don't understand how this makes sense. Where you just have you can be a complete psycho and go into a voting booth. It's like,
well, you don't even need
and
ID.
exactly. So there's no. I mean, if I want to get a degree in something that determines my future only, I have to go to college for years and pay out the ass. But if I want to contribute to deciding the country's future, nope, just walk on in. I don't give a fuck. It's
Yeah.
insane.
No, people that are on welfare and whatnot, they should definitely be having to work.
Absolutely, and it
It's
should
one
be
thing to
more
help people
more
that can't make
temporary.
Yeah, and it's one thing to help people that can't make ends meet and try and help them lift out of it. It's another thing to create a perpetual class of that, and then allow them to vote. I mean, one of the things going into the 2020 election, a friend of mine in real life, we had a bunch of discussions about politics, and we talk on and off over the years of the politics, much more back in like 2020 than in 2024. But he basically said, going into 2024 that, and he's like emotionally tied to the left and to the Democrat Party. But he basically was like, I don't care about any of the stuff you care about. I don't care about the DEI stuff. I don't care about the woke stuff. I don't care about the transgender stuff. I don't care about national security and foreign policy. I barely care about domestic policy at this point. The only thing I care about is that one party is offering and tried to pay off my student loans. And, I turned to him and I was like, they tried. It was unconstitutionally, like, it was determined to be unconstitutional. And you're literally selling your vote for a promise that is empty. And his answer to me was, well, on the off chance that it's not an empty promise, I'm willing to pay. I'm willing to take the chance and roll the dice.
Hmm.
And this is, one of the things I think you see, to get it back to, I mentioned when we first started the Mamdani thing up in New York, is you have a bunch of people who don't feel invested in the future of the country and the, states. They are, I forget his list, but the abuelas from Mexico and the taxi drivers from Sudan and these people from India and those people from Somalia and, wherever else. As you go down that list, what I'm hearing him say is these are people who are more interested in the economic opportunities of America, that are not invested in the future of the country and are happy to take off of it. And
Mhm.
they are also the working poor, which I get that they exist in the working class, but they're, and it's hard to make ends meet with how expensive New York is. But what they're sitting there going and saying basically is, he's promising a bunch of free shit. I want said free shit. And I'm happy to vote for it because what is it my problem? And ultimately the reason that I think this is where this is gonna end up if it goes through, I mean, it might get stopped by other people in their state and city government, but where I think is really gonna end up being an issue is if this all happens, you're going to gut the tax base because anybody with money and anybody that has a company that they can go elsewhere is gonna leave. New Jersey's just a 5-minute drive away. There are a lot of people that'll just move to New Jersey and commute in.
Mhm.
There are people that just move completely. But so you'll have a tax base that'll leave, and then you'll have more and more money problems because he's offering a bunch of free shit. And so if it comes through, the free buses and the free this and the free then the upkeep will get put on the side so that you can continue to maintain it for free. And then you'll have, subway accidents and you'll have more crime because the police are going to be overburdened and they're going to be paid less and not get compensated properly, and so they'll leave, and then you'll have fires that don't get put out properly. Like, it's just all going to compound, and we're going to go back to having the sort of criminal takeover and the mafia gang types running communities because they'll be able to offer the actual safety and protection to people.
Oh yeah, like
And
Detroit. I mean, it's
yep.
everywhere's gonna be like Detroit now.
And you're just going to go back to the New York City of the 1970s, which was before my time, but from what I've read about it, I think that ultimately it'll be a 20-year cycle where you have another backlash that'll push it to, finally putting somebody in power and, who is more on the right, who's willing to crack down on some of this stuff. But, my fear on all this is that these cycles are going to harm a lot of people along the way, and they're going to cause a lot of financial disruption and a lot of issues. You look at London. London is not a British city anymore, even though it's the capital of England. It's a foreign conglomerate. It's a economic zone. It's
Like a
not a
mascot.
yeah. It's not a country. They don't treat it like it's a country that has an identity.
Yeah.
Um,
Sorry, I got a steak in my teeth from dinner tonight. I'm like, it's like a wedge in my tooth. I'm like, "Argh,"
Look,
driving me
this is
nuts.
this is why it's the super secret show number one, and we'll get our shit,
I'm
we'll get our
like,
act
"Argh."
together, and we'll be professional one day.
Yeah.
The dog treats will get cleaned up, and
Yeah.
I'll put my camera in a better spot so it's not like aiming down at me.
Actually looks
Um,
good like that.
well, my other thought was I could put it kind of like where kind of like in front of me down lower, so it's coming at my face.
Mhm.
But
No, that's pretty good. Oh well, screw it.
look, you got to take the training wheels off eventually.
Yeah, right. But
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think in a lot of ways, like, I don't really care about people's religions. I don't care about where they're from, but I care about them having the priority of the future of the country and people, you know, um, on the forefront of their decision making, and not a, self-centered, what can I get out of it kind of thing.
and
Um,
says people living off the system shouldn't vote either. What are your thoughts on that?
so yeah, I mean, I'm touching on that. I think it's a reasonable position to have. The question just becomes, where do you make that delineation? Because what is it? 90% of the taxes are paid by the top 10% of earners in the states. I mean, I pay, a decent amount of taxes every year as a single person who has a reasonable salary. Um, I think I pay a lot of money, but I don't know if I technically pay more than I like consider to benefit from the system. Um,
I have
but
to say I agree with her. And my reason is because you're on assistance from the government. You can't take care of you right now. You shouldn't have a say on the future of others. You do you, you get better in life, understand what you're doing a little bit, and then we'll think about it.
oh no,
What
I'm not saying I necessarily disagree. I was just kind of talking it through a little bit because, you have to make a differentiation somewhere. I think it's reasonable to say, hey, look, if you can't take care of yourself, but I was just my point is more so that, you can push that delineation to a lot of more
Mhm.
places. Like you could have somebody who makes, I don't know, $75,000 a year, and they're not on the government dole, and they're solidly low, lower to, middle class, depending on where they live and their family size and things like that. Um, and yet they, definitely don't pay more taxes than they, like get from the system.
To
So
touch on the student loan thing, I have to agree with Charlie Kirk when he says that it's a scam. I mean, maybe not back in the day because you're paying. Back in the day, it worked better. It was a better excuse to get people to pay all that money to go to college. And the reason I say that is because that person who was teaching them how to go to college and so forth, and you don't need that today. You literally can learn anything. I guarantee I could learn how to be a surgeon off of YouTube. You know what I mean? Maybe not that, but
you could
I
learn a
could
lot.
probably
You,
learn how
you
to
could
be a
learn a lot.
lawyer. You probably can learn a lot. So I think really what you need to do with technology now is you got to allow people to get rid of college. I mean, if they want to go and pay for it, whatever, but you should be able to go sit in front of a professor on camera so it can be reviewed. You pay a fee, you sit in front of a professor, you're watched, and you take a test. You take a very long exam. Maybe it's a day or two kind of thing. You take an exam proving that you know what you claim to know. And if you pass the test, you get your degree. What's wrong with that? You can do the same thing right now to get a certification in almost anything by going on, for example, Career Academy.
Yep.
If I think I know it, I can literally go on there, skip all the bullshit, take the test, and now I got a certification, which is what I did. I got my certification a few years ago in CompTIA Plus, basic computer.
Yeah, I mean, look, I definitely agree. College has become a scam. If you look at the college costs from the 70s on, they skyrocketed as the government started funding the colleges. And then you look
Mhm.
at where that money really went to, and it went to having a dean of this and a dean of that. The administration has blown up in the colleges. It hasn't stayed consistent. So clearly the money is not going towards the quality of the education.
And if you hear what
Um,
the college kids are saying, their main defense seems, well, it's about the overall experience of going to college. And it's like, make friends, go to a
yeah,
bar. Like, you're not missing out on everything you can do in college, you can do outside of college.
well, it's been turned into essentially a way to house kids for another, like, what, 3 to 5 years after they graduate high
Yeah, and
school.
honestly, I think it's, well, I don't want to live with mommy and daddy no more. So this is better and I'm free now. And it's like, well, why don't you just grow up and you can be free that way? Like,
I always told my younger siblings that they would be much better off not spending the money. I mean, I paid for myself to go to college, took out loans, etc. Um, obviously got some like government-based financial assistance, but I went to a local state school. But yeah, I always told my younger siblings, the thing to do is if you don't know what you want to do, go take classes at a community college. You can do your first 2 years there and save money. That's what I did. You can go get a part-time job, take part-time classes, do your gen ed stuff so that when you decide what you actually want to do, if you do want to continue through college, you have basics done, or you can apply to a technical program, or you can transfer to a 4-year college, live with some friends, go party, you know, smoke a lot of pot, do whatever the hell you want to do, have an apartment somewhere with a bunch of roommates,
Yeah, absolutely. You can always
and
go back to school if you want to go back to school.
yep. But I think for me, like, everybody here knows, and I'm a PA, so I had to go get to college and get a master's. And part of what
Yeah.
drove me to going to, get my master's and go into that field was because I wanted something that actually meant something. I mean, I worked as like a tech in medicine for a little while after college, and it paid horrible. I got treated horrible. We won't talk about how things aren't always better on the other side, but I think in a lot of ways, if I had been working for myself as opposed to for a system, I'd be happier in a lot of ways. And now in my mid 30s, if I had started at 18 in an apprenticeship program for a trade and worked my way up, and gotten to the point where I could own my own business, it'd be different than doing the kind of day-to-day work, and you might still be on point, but I think I'd be happier in a lot of ways working for myself as opposed to a corporation of some kind, or as opposed to like these hospitals and things like that where it's all middle management that you got to deal with. I think
Yeah, I think when you can work for yourself doing something that you enjoy doing, that's like the American dream, you put food on the table doing something you love to do.
well, I think that's why a lot of people like enjoy trying this whole streaming thing.
Mhm.
They see the upside of it, which is significant if you can get there, but it allows you to work for yourself, and not have that kind of overhead, or that oversight, thing
Yeah.
from like a platform.
On that note, though, I will say I feel like
Froze.
too many
You're
people
back.
are trying are just
Hang on. I had your scene went out again. I don't know why it did that. Let me refresh it. All right, you should be back.
in my back.
Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know why that's
It
happening.
is weird tonight.
It never did this before
Yeah, when we
on
did
all
our
the testing
trials,
that we did.
yeah, it was fine. What was I saying? I don't know what I was saying.
Ruined it.
Yeah, you
Um,
ruined it. Darn it. Let's see
we
if the crowd knows. Crowd, what was I saying? I don't even remember.
were talking about like college and trade schools and things like that.
Yeah, I completely lost it. I got sidetracked.
Oh, but yeah. Anyways, I mean, it was the panel verse. Oh, I'm Rob now. I got a hat and a beard. I'm fat. um, but yeah, no, uh, welcome cowboy. How's it going? Um, but yeah, no, I definitely think in a lot of ways the college thing has become a scam. It's been sold to kids that that's how you get to the middle class. That's how you get something in life, and it's really not realistic. There are a lot of other ways you can make your way, make yourself better, earn a better income, and working for yourself. I think also as a man, like in a lot of ways, taking self responsibility, not being part of a system for a lot of people, solves things. Like I can't speak for other people, but for me, like one of my dreams is to own some land, take care of myself more. Maybe if I had to continue work more part time. But I want real things with my hands. Real
Mhm.
physical like products of my labor, and not just seeing essentially like, oh yeah, I got a paycheck at the end of the month. Like that's cool.
Yeah, like my job, for example, it it pays the bills. You know, it doesn't pay the most, but it's not like I'm like struggling real bad or anything. I'm content. I'm content. I could stand to make a little more. Let's put it that way. But what I'm doing now, working in a wood shop is like that's the kind of stuff I love to do. And like for example, like our head honcho at work, he came over to me the other day. He's like, I haven't seen him in a while, and he goes, how you doing? You liking it over there?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, I really do." 'Cause I used to pour the molten metal in the foundry where I work. I was the guy who I was getting burnt all the time, and I couldn't stand it. I didn't like coming home smelling like shit every day, having burn holes in my pants. It was just getting covered in sand, and it was just terrible. It was a cool job. It was like a really novelty kind of thing though. But now I'm in the pattern shop where working with the wood and fixing the patterns and on. That's the kind of work I enjoy doing, and I'll take a job for it might not pay that much, but it's something I like to do, so I'll roll with it. And I've always wanted to be a luthier, so it's like one more step closer to maybe making some guitars or something. As everyone can see, I got guitars hanging up. I'm a musician my whole life, so something like that. It's more down my alley than getting burnt with molten cast iron every day.
Yeah, no. As Anna mentions, like it's also a value to plan ahead. A lot of people don't do that. I'm lucky to be in a position where both my job, has like a 403B, like a 401k match. And I save in like what you call it, like a Roth IRA myself when I can. But yeah, I think a lot of young people don't plan properly for that.
I'm
It's better
guilty of
to
it.
live within your means and prepare for that. And I don't think people in our generation are going to have a lot to rely on when it comes to things like Social Security.
No, and I also think people in our generation are going to not have much of a 401k when they're ready to retire because the expenses are so crazy nowadays. I mean, not only myself, but I know a handful of people that have had no choice but to dip into their savings for their retirement just to be able to, like, for example, pay taxes, like property tax, which is fucking ridiculous. The what's it called? The well pump blew. I had to take out from the 401k. I don't have, you know what I mean? That's expensive fix
Mm-hmm.
right there. And it's like, what do? You just keep dipping into the 401k when things get hard. It's either that or, I mean, try harder to find a better job. But I didn't go to college or anything like that. 20 something dollars an hour is what I'm probably stuck with until most places decide to increase it, which unfortunately at that point is going to mean that the economy got even worse.
Well, you need
So
to
it's
move
not
to New
going to
York.
matter
They're gonna
because
make
I
it.
hate the city.
They're gonna make it a $30 minimum wage, and you're gonna get to ride the
Yeah,
bus for free. I mean, come on,
yeah,
it's gonna be great.
but $30 minimum wage in New York is like making $10 an hour here in PA 20 years ago. It's like, it doesn't really make a difference. You can keep putting the minimum wage up, that's fine. But when the economy keeps getting worse, it doesn't make a difference. You're literally just the rate. It's literally just a 1-to-1 ratio that keeps going on. Now it's a 2-to-2 ratio. Now it's a 3-to-3 ratio. It's 50-50. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean that's why I say, like, I've had a bunch of people be like, "You could do this, you could do something else," and ultimately, my response to all that is, I'm lucky enough to be in a position where financially it doesn't pay for me to go do something different.
Next month, I do. I may have an opportunity next month with another company. Um, I know there's guys from work watching right now, so whatever. Fuck yous. I don't care. I'm entitled to go work somewhere else if I want. Um, but I mean, it's supposed to be significantly better pay. And it's like, what am I supposed to do? If it sounds like a better deal, why wouldn't I take it? So I guess we'll see what's in the works.
Yeah, I mean, look, all you can do is try, do the best you can.
Yeah. Well, what else do we want to touch on tonight? I mean, I can go on the transgender or the abortion thing all night, every day, all day. I will argue that till I am blue in the face. You know,
Oh,
what do we think about the whole case with Charlie Kirk going on right now? I mean, I keep hearing and reading that it wasn't Tyler Robinson.
um, I'm not going to speculate on it, to be honest with you. I personally think that the reality of these situations is that, like, the FBI can't give us the full information until
Yeah,
they go
true,
to trial.
true.
So I think they're trying to drip feed the little bits that they can. It
Well, I
does
think
seem
like
to me,
Candace Owens is like saying that and it seems like she's, I don't know. I hear people are like, she's crazy, or then you got some people who are like, no, she's really on to something about it being like fucking Israel or something that took him out, and it's like Tyler Robbins is just the fallback guy.
I do not agree with that at all. I think Candace
I have
is
no idea.
fishing.
Yeah.
I think Candace is using the reality of the unknowns in the situation to try to make herself money
Well, I
and
think her
get her
point,
voice out there more.
which I could be wrong about this, but when she says like Israel and stuff, I'm wondering if she's talking about really like the cabal, who is runs everything, who wanted someone with that kind of a powerful voice to shut up.
I think that there's a lot better people that they could have done. Um, to me, it's very clear that there was a group of people connected to Tyler Robinson that knew about this. There's circumstantial evidence about, a bunch of these people that were part of this trans group posting online about, something happening to Charlie. People should be prepared. They know something's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
You think it was like a mini Antifa, like a wannabe Antifa group?
well, there's a couple of like you may have heard of the Zizians.
I have not.
So the Zizians was like a kind of extreme. I don't know a ton about it, but like it's definitely something we could look into and talk about if people are interested. But
Oh yeah.
they committed a bunch. They were a bunch of trans people and like leftists that committed a bunch of crimes and assassinations and went after police, or attempted assassinations. Then there's this other group called 764 Cult that I've been reading about a little bit. That is a like child manipulation kind of bad things sort of group of people. um I think that when you are pushed towards some of these ideologies that exist amongst a lot of the farther left or minority victim classes, it's very easy to push towards militancy. um you know, I think that there's been videos put out about kind of the life that Tyler Robinson and his significant other roommate person were living, about the people that they were surrounding themselves with. There's like a whole bunch of private information that's been leaked that have been put into like videos and stuff that we could review, talking about some of the kind of craziness of these people. Um, I'm not saying that conspiracies don't exist, but
Well, I think when they were
often,
reading the text between that Tyler sent to his boyfriend, and I'm gonna say boyfriend. I'm sorry, I don't play that game. The text between him and his boyfriend, when they were reading them, it was like, I forget who it was that pointed it out. It didn't seem real. It seemed like scripted.
well, I could see how this could have been a conspiracy that didn't necessarily involve some foreign actors, and they, had left stuff behind to hopefully like make things look differently. Damn it! Why does this keep happening? I lost you again, Ren. Now you're back. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to figure that one out, but
You
you,
know
you
what?
should
I
be.
do have to. I have to update my computer. It might be that might be what's going on. I haven't updated it in a while, and it does. It's giving me the signal like, "Yo, dude, get your shit together."
Okay. Well, whatever. We'll try and figure it out. I just had to hit a refresh, but my problem with Candace is she's not evaluating any evidence. She's coming with a conclusion and looking for evidence to fill it. So, like one of her big smoking gun things. So, firstly, like everything she talks about has to be come behind my paywall. I can't give you the whole story. She's talking about how Charlie came into her in
Yeah,
dreams, like,
yeah, yeah.
and
Some
then
of the stuff
she's
she says is kind of like, okay, like you think something's going on with you.
so. I mean, me personally, I suspect there probably is some sort of conspiracy in here. I just don't know that it's a government actor, a Trump, conspiracy, a foreign actor trying to, galvanize people. I mean, if it was, a Middle Eastern country, there are a lot of other people that have influence that they could have taken out besides Charlie. Even if Charlie was, kind of pulling away from the donors, even in those texts that she released when the full texts were put out, he talks about how it's very hard to support because of these donors, but he doesn't talk about how he doesn't support Jews or Israel or any of that kind of stuff. You know, he talks about how it's putting him in a difficult position, having to force him to pick between, you know, people that are his friends and people that are donating to him. But again, you know, look at where someone like Nick Fuentes has gone now in the, you know, months since this incident, since this assassination. He's gotten on major podcasts. He's been interviewed by Tucker as of like 2 weeks ago. Heck, he'd be a much better target to deal with because that's his whole thing. His answer to everything is Jews. You know, in addition to his other problematic beliefs. You know, and as Cowboy points out, there are terror cells in the U.S. There's definitely some foreign influence that, you know, I can point to, like, you know, I've been putting the research section of countries like Qatar pushing, you know, influence into our country. And not to let some groups off the hook, just saying that it's going on for a lot of different people. I don't buy into the craziness from the people that are pushing the Charlie conspiracies that Erica Kirk was a honeypot, that the way she's acting is questionable personally.
Oh,
like,
absolutely not. She
you
was
know,
absolutely.
I don't buy the stuff that, like, oh, she's secretly trying to get with JD Vance because someone could take a still frame where she hugged him on the back of the head,
Oh my
when, like,
God.
that's how she hugs everybody if you look at a lot of the hugs that she's given to people now in public.
That's disgusting that people even say things like that.
You know, but this is why I come back to, like, I think that there are people on the right that have agendas that want to use any event that occurs to either build themselves up to, you know, financially or from a power standpoint. People want to, you know, that are not on the right, want to cause more chaos. I mean, to me, all this, you know, kind of civil war stuff on the right that's going on now between the sort of anti-Israel, you know, America first means America only versus the you know, sort of more center right, you know, American foreign policy can mean aiding our allies and things like that. Um, you know, I think that to me, it very much seems that there's probably a outside influence that is pushing this, and or it's being pushed from a viewership standpoint. Like, the people that I see covering the Fuentes Tucker interview that are on the, you know, quote unquote America first means America only side of things, they very much seem to be pushing this idea that you know, they have to be taken seriously and exercise everyone else from the party. And meanwhile, the people on the, you know, sort of more center are trying to exercise people from the party. You know, I think that the reality is that, you know, like we talked about when we first came in, the right became very strong because it attracted the center. And so now it's very advantageous for people on the left to influence the right, to infight, and to give them more, you know, easy wins.
Oh yeah, of course. I think more and more people are coming from the left to the right because their left's getting more and more crazy, and it's allowing them, some of them, to reflect a little bit and go, wait a minute,
You know,
what's going on?
if Fuentes becomes a popular figure on the right, more so than just the niche internet figure he is now, and becomes an actual, like, you know, let's say it becomes, instead of CPAC, people are all going to AFPAC, and, you know, he's the figurehead, like, you know, if he takes Charlie's spot, it's not difficult, and it's the, like, literally the wet dream of the left to then be able to say, look, they are actually Nazis on the right. They are actually, you know, white supremacists. Because, you know, regardless of if people want to say he believes this stuff or not, he's openly either joked about it or, you know, openly said that these are the things that he believes in, and then, you know, sarcastically walked it back. Like I say, to me, this is just a wet dream for someone on the left. All it takes is somebody who is got leftist, sort of socialist economics, but pushes cultural, like, center or cultural right, and they will win in a landslide. If somebody comes out and goes, look, I want to do universal health care and I want to do UBI and I want to give out some more free shit, but I will shut down the trans stuff. I will get rid of the, you know, illegal immigration. I will close the border. You know, I will make people denounce their dual citizenship or whatnot if they want to run for government, they'll win in a landslide. And it's very easy once you have those socialist things in place for someone on the left to then win and be like, look, we're not doing any of these cultural conservative stuff that you guys all wanted. We're getting rid of them now, and hello to American communism.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I think the left is gonna say the same thing on repeat, regardless of what happens. I think it's, I don't know, man. I mean,
And
yeah,
yet
I
you had
guess.
someone in, what was it, the governor, or not the governor, the attorney general in Virginia, who wins despite the fact that he's got all these texts about how he thinks people's, that are conservatives, kids should be killed or whatever.
Oh, I
The
heard about that. Yeah, I forget who that was. That's like,
um but part of that is that, like, a lot of people that were conservative in blue states have fled, and there isn't a lot of opposition left, and more people that are in blue states that are conservative probably will flee further, and it's going to polarize things more. It's going to push us more towards, like, worse outcomes, because people that don't feel represented, like I don't feel represented where I live. So, that's
oh yeah,
one of the
okay, yeah.
reasons why I'm like, maybe I need to leave. I'm not going to Florida, but I think Florida, when DeSantis was first elected, was like, had 10,000 more Democrats than, or 50,000 more Democrats than Republicans. And now it's got like 1.2 million more Republicans than Democrats registered. It's some just like insane number, because you have all these sort of center right people that fled from, left states to go join a based state, and I respect it. But it definitely hurts electoral opportunities. And I agree with what Cowboy just said in the chat, that if Fuentes gets prominent and this continues, this infight on the left or on the right, it will end the Republican Party. Because I think that there is an Overton window and there is too far. And again, all the moderates will just push over to the left and try and change that, or start a third party, and then things will really change.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely makes sense to have, yeah, because you push it too much, you just keep grabbing and grabbing before you're even getting anything, and then it's like, yeah, I see what you're talking about.
I mean, who knows? Only time will tell. Nothing is perfect. Um, Things change quickly. There could be a, completely different thing that happens at some point that, triggers something new. Um, there's always inflection points. I mean, I know a lot of people will, kind of heart, and I've heard people starting to talk about it, Trump talking about, potentially invading Venezuela, and, there's anti-war people. But it really, like, one of the interesting things that stands out to me is all these kind of center left people that voted culturally on the right in this election in 2024, voting for Trump, that were turning around. This was a couple months ago now. Like Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn was another one.
Mhm.
Andrew Schultz, that turned around and were whining about how the Trump is being evil and he's enforcing immigration. This is not what they voted for. Them, throwing people in paddy wagons or whatever. I think there's a lot of people that are like that voted for the right because of cultural issues, but don't have the stomach for what needs to happen to fix this country. I mean, this is why, like, I've been arguing with people lately a bunch about, and this is why I mentioned, like, America first versus America only. Does America first mean America only and isolationism, or does America first mean we put the interests of America first? You disappeared for a second, but you're back now. I think. But
Oh. I don't understand why it keeps doing that.
yeah, I don't know if it's
It's got to be because my update. It's got to be my
does it
computer.
keep
I think
popping
it's
up and
just.
being like, covering your screen, being like, update me, or?
I'm still on our stream, our chat,
It might
but
be something to do with Video Ninja, because we never used it for more than like 10 or 15 minutes before.
well, what happens is you'll freeze,
Uh-huh.
and then I'll disappear.
I
But I
see.
don't
I
know if you're
mean,
freezing. I don't think you're freezing on the stream.
maybe it's my internet. Maybe I need to not be on my VPN next time.
It could be me too. I mean, I have to update. I don't know. Maybe it needs. I don't know.
But yeah, no. So Cowboy once says, "Do you think a third party is necessarily bad?" No, I don't think it's necessarily bad, as long as it's standing on the kind of decent principles.
What would a third
Um,
party? What would that mean though? Would that mean you're grabbing a little bit of each side and mixing it together?
I mean, the way I see that is, I think that you have a center party that pushes. Let the right that is kind of more on the far right become a party. Let the left that's more progressive become a party, and let the classical liberals, libertarian types, that are more in the center, create their own party. I mean, one of the interesting things we could do on here at some point is one of these political compass tests,
Well, yeah, but
and kind of see where we
I
fall out. I
mean,
know I tend to fall out towards like
would
the
people vote
libertarian
for
right.
that? Would people, you know what I mean? Because right now we're divided as hell, and people are either left or they're right.
Well, I mean,
And
I
if you
think
have, you have two presidents, you had three, so you got three people lined up, for the election for the new president, and you have a left, you have a right, and you got someone that's in the middle. Yeah, everyone on the right's voting for the guy on the right. Everyone on the left's going to vote for the guy on the left. I feel, or at
well,
least the majority.
well, let me put it this way. My position has been that the real solution is base centrism, is being issue based and not party based. And so to me, I would much rather have the ability to go out and vote for, somebody who's more in the center, who's addressing issues, as opposed to playing party politics. I mean, I haven't historically been, I am more culturally conservative. I am more towards the right, but I'm very close to the middle and much more libertarian than a lot of people. And so to me, yeah, I believe in small government and a bunch of these things, but I think that if the Democrats dropped a lot of the things I have issues with, I could be, courted by them in some ways. The problem is they're crazy. Like they've really gone off the deep end, like
They
because they've
have.
pandered to the progressives in their party. Whereas, Trump is like a 90s, Democrat in a lot of ways. And that's attractive to a lot of people that were in the center.
Hmm.
So I could see a way in which we, have a center party that forms that goes, look, we believe in the Second Amendment. We believe in the First Amendment. I don't know if you watch, but Crowder put together a video of like, hey, this is the things that should be within the Overton window and to be included on the right. And I think a lot of those things could be adopted by a center party, and they could be very successful.
That's kind of what I figured. That's what it seems like RFK was when he was running. It was like, he was Democrat, but he wasn't 2025 Democrat. He was like old school Democrat. He seemed like he was a nice mix of the both sides. But to see how poor he did was like, how? Way back when I figured he was going to do pretty good after I like read up about him and all, and it was still very, very early in the elections. And I was like, this guy might come out of nowhere and win. He's RFK too. Like, it'd be cool. And
Well,
it's very seems very mixed with him. So, you know, I don't know. It's just
I mean, I
it
think
strikes me
part of
as
the
odd.
problem is that politics in America is a popularity contest. It's a beauty pageant.
Yeah, that
Um,
too. Yeah.
one with Trump around, it's a bombastic pageant or whatever you want to call it. But
Oh,
you
that just
know,
reminded me.
we definitely see a lot more of the, hey, people that are on the, kind of beauty scale tend to win. I mean, look, people might not like him, but look at Gavin Newsom. He's pretty decent looking. He speaks the right way.
Hmm.
There are a lot of people that will go vote for someone just based on looks or gut instinct.
Yeah,
I did a stream, so I think a lot of the people that are watching or have watched are aware that my channel had been rebranded, but my old streams that I did earlier this year are still in a playlist on the channel. I talked, and we could review it on our show here at some point, but I talked about Jonathan Haidt and his research, and specifically that he published in a book called The Righteous Mind. And one
I've
of the
heard of that.
things
Yep.
that he talks about in a lot is that we all think we're the heroes of our own story, and we all think we're doing things for good mostly, or
Hmm.
most people think that they're doing things for good. And so we have different values based on we have different values based on what our kind of core beliefs are, what our personality types are, and
I've
things
heard of
like
that,
that.
and
And
what Ann said. I
the
have heard of that.
rider and elephant analogy that people may remember I talked about, where like mostly we are unconscious that can be kind of steered, but not like controlled per se. And so I
Yeah,
think for a
definitely.
lot of people, sorry, I'll
If
just say
there
one
was
last little bit.
go ahead, go ahead.
I think for a lot of people, RFK Jr., his voice, his presentation was difficult. It's unfortunate,
Yeah,
but I think
I
that
know.
was a big
Yeah,
problem for
I
him.
think you're 100% correct about that because I know. Listen, I think the guy is great. I love that he is, where he is right now. But man, when he starts talking I feel so bad when he starts talking, man. I'm like, oh my God, like, come on, man. He's got to do something about that. He's got to be something out there to help you with that, man. But it's terrible. It really is. But speaking of the popularity contest, I remember the first time I had that thought. Like, well, Trump's winning because he's Donald Trump. That's why I was working at the envelope place I used to work at. And I had just remembered, I figured for the first show, I'll show everybody. I used to make in a way, I used to work for Donald Trump because I used to make all his committees envelopes. We printed them, and I ran the whole thing, and I still have the printing plate from years ago when he first won. I just wanted to share that. I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, like you said, popularity contest. If it was an extraordinarily attractive woman, like, and I'm talking smoking hot woman, and she was on the left running for Democrat, I wonder how many guys on the right would fucking vote for
her. I mean, I think that the right at this point might not be willing to vote for a woman, unfortunately, or fortunately,
Maybe
however you want to
not
look at it.
now. Maybe back in 2016.
Maybe if it was a based enough woman against a woke enough man on the left.
Yeah. But no, you're absolutely right. It's if they look good, if they talk good, I feel like it's not even with necessarily politics. I mean, it's like everywhere in life. I remember I was trying to get this job years ago, and this is back when I lived in Philly. And this is gonna be a weird story, but I'm telling you, it was in my mind, it was logical. I was up for a job, and I know a lot of other people were up for the job, and I really needed the job. So I was trying to come up with ideas as to, how can I stick out? So I completely faked being Australian when I met this manager and did the interview and everything, because I figured you're not going to forget the Australian guy. I did the accent and everything, and I got the fucking job, man. And he said it was because he happened to remember the Australian guy, and he had a good conversation with me. So I think definitely popularity, something that stands out about that person is most of the time all that people really look at.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a lot of ways, Obama's presentation was a big part of it. I think if you look back at Clinton, he was, a suave guy back in his day. That was a, big part of his push. Reagan was a movie star. I think that in a lot of ways, we've gotten even worse with things over the years.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and at this point, I think people now are just like, you know what? Whatever. I'm going to vote for who I want to vote for. You know, I don't know. I think it's just crazy anymore thinking about, especially thinking about who's going to be coming up in the future when Donald Trump's done. It's like, what's it going to be like then voting in what, 2028? What's it
Mm-hmm.
going to be like voting then? It's like, it's
Well,
already crazy now.
I think that conversations and people talking and moving things forward to more understanding is how we're gonna get there. Um, ultimately, I suspect it'll be JD Vance on the Republican side unless there's some big falling out or something. But yeah, I mean, I look, it's gonna continue to improve. I think it's gonna, get worse. It'll get better. People just need to keep pushing forward. Like you talked about when we discussed doing this. We have to continue to carry on Charlie's message. We don't always have to agree, but we have to
Absolutely.
talk. I mean,
Absolutely.
I don't know if you know who Cam Higby is, but
I do
I've
not.
been watching him lately, and he's been doing a lot of the like kind of he's been doing like a college tour and going to protests and things like that. Um, and one of the
I'm happy
interesting
Steven Crowder
things,
started doing that again.
you know,
I'm really happy that Charlie really sparked him to go out back and start doing that again, and he's hitting it hard, man. And a lot of people are starting to do it.
well, one of the things that happened with this guy Cam is he was being harassed by somebody in a protest that he was reporting at, and after a few days of being harassed, they just started talking. And now the guy is streaming, and
Uh,
he's learned like he hated Republicans and people on the right, and now he's like, you know what? I have people that are friends on both sides of the aisle, and we agree on a lot. We disagree on some things, but we can talk. And I think that's what it needs to be at the end of the day. We just need to keep talking. So,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
Even if we're at each other's throats, as long as when it's done, when the conversation's done, if you can shake hands, that's a win.
yeah, go get a beer, whatever.
Yeah.
Punch each other in the face a few times and move on.
I'm not gonna get a Bud Light.
um, no, no, I think I'm gonna go with a Blue Moon, or a Hogarden,
Yeah.
or
I'm a not your father's root beer kind of guy.
um.
I like a little flavor in there.
But yeah, this was fun.
Absolutely. I think it was a successful first show.
I think one of the things to people that were here that viewed and watch on the replay, subscribe, share, like all those things. We will hopefully improve our
Suggest
professionalism.
Give us
Um,
suggestions too, things you want to talk about, things you want to hear. If you want to be on the show, you want to come in as a third and talk, let us know. We'll see if we can set it up.
100%. Yeah, hit me up, or you can hit Ren up. You know, I think we'll try and work on figuring out a regular schedule at some point so we can be more
Mhm.
consistent on that. And like I mentioned before, I want to keep trying to do some more like deep dive stuff, like I was doing before, but more as a conversation instead of as a presentation. So, as we continue along, I hope you guys will stick around for it. I'm gonna play the intro that we played in case anybody missed it, because Ren put a lot of work into it, and I think it's awesome. So I'm gonna hit that go one more time, and then we'll call it a night. It was fun hanging out with everybody. Thanks for coming
Everyone have a
by.
good night. Yeah, we'll see you next time.
All right, you guys have a good one.